Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 156. I'm your host, Ryan Black, and I am joined by my co-host, Joshua Taylor, and we are back and we are playing with power. Josh, how you doing this week?
I'm doing all right here.
Good to hear. Man, this is going to be an interesting episode. We're fighting sleep like crazy. The weekend, it's rough sometimes, and rolling in on that Monday. Whew, hard to stay awake. So, I think I can say this with confidence now that we are officially like full swing into December. Christmas is, 16 days away? I think I went into a Walmart and they had that up there, and I had a slight panic attack. So many things to do. So little time.
Yeah, it's flying. I feel like, I think where Thanksgiving was so late, like I don't realize how late it is in December already.
But, it's the holidays. It's always busy. Always doing something. Always trying to get something done. And
oh, yeah.
Always working to get stuff for gifts for people and all that. So, struggle is real. The holidays are a thing.
Yeah, they're good. Just nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get a little festive here with our next segment. We're going to talk about what we are Radical Rexing about. All right. So, what have you been Radical Rexing about, man?
All right. So, like you were saying, we're close to Christmas and everything, and it truly is nonstop. So, mostly that's, well, I guess to say that's what I've been taking care of is all of that sort of thing. My daughter had a little Christmas, can't really think of the proper word, not really a play, but little thing at her preschool. She had a Christmas dance recital Saturday. Let's see. Wednesday, I've got something with the church that's Christmas related. Just long story short, it truly is nonstop up until January at this point for me. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. It's all really good. It does keep me busy though. From a gaming standpoint, I think what I've been playing most, actually, we've been playing a little bit of Okami still, but I booted up my Xbox One and I have the 2005 version of Star Wars Battlefront 2. For some reason, I decided to play around on that again. If you've ever played it, it's still pretty good fun. I like it better than the newer Battlefront games. Unfortunately, it is not on Switch or anything, but it's a good time. I think I'm just getting hyped for the upcoming movie more than anything.
Man, I remember playing that game on PS2. What the heck?
Oh, yeah. It's a PS2 game. It's still fun.
Yeah, getting in that Star Wars mood for that last episode coming out.
Oh, yeah. Between that and The Mandalorian. Disney Plus is great because I just watched the original trilogy on my phone. On my lunch breaks. I just realized I could get away with that. It was pretty sweet.
Awesome, man. Oh, I see you're putting the Switch aside and getting your Disney Plus on. That's cool. That's all great.
Oh yeah, I'll be back into it.
No. One thing definitely we're Radical Rexing about is we did have a community game night. Low attendance this time. We had a poll and everything. Had people pick the game, and just people didn't make it for the time. I don't know if it just was a bad time for everybody, but hopefully we can get another bigger one going here soon. But yeah, it was awesome to get on there. I don't actually own the Luigi's Mansion 3, so I wasn't able to do the first part of it. But I definitely hopped in on Smash for a little bit at the end there. I did have to cut out after a while because, things get busy. I was definitely having a good con weekend. I went to MFF in Chicago and all the fun times were had. I did a little bit of Smash, like I said, with the community night, but played a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Found some people there that were playing and made some connections and made some friends and got to play some of my real life stuff that I rebuilt, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. I've been running, for those who are Yu-Gi-Oh! And like Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff, I run Twilight Sworn, and I'm also doing a Yosenju Kaiju deck, and I had some good success with those. I was actually really surprised. I kind of redid my Yosenju Kaiju deck a little bit, and it runs a little better. So I'm excited to try it out a little bit more. But enough about the boring card games. So I think kind of the biggest thing right now that I'm Radical Rexing about, aside from Christmas is cool, but just before I get to Christmas, I'm going on a Disney trip. So I get to go to Disney World, and it's going to be quite fun. I finally get to experience that whole Star Wars park. Oh my goodness, I can't wait.
No, wait. I like forgot about this. Like, I love Disney World's like my other love. I just don't talk about it as much because it costs money. But,
yeah. We saved up for a year and got season passes. So we're gonna start our membership, our season passes starting next week basically.
We'll have to talk. Well, no, I wanted that for years. That's awesome. For you then.
So yeah, it's just gonna be this first trip's just gonna be me and my wife. My brother-in-law and my other housemate had to back out last minute, so it's just gonna be a fun little trip. We do have a friend that lives with us sometimes, and they're currently with their mom in Florida, and so they're gonna be joining us here and there. So it's gonna be pretty fun time. I can't wait to get immersed in the Star Wars world. It's gonna be another couple of years before the whole immersive hotel becomes a thing. But it'll be awesome to experience the park. I definitely want to try to get some of those soda bottles, bring them back, because I guess they look kind of cool. Like they're part of the Star Wars universe, even though they're like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or what have you. Don't shoot me if I got the wrong brand there.
The Disney ninjas are going to come after you now.
We're heavy pin traders. So we're probably going to be buying a lot of pins to do some trading around the parks and find those awesome themed ones. I know there's one in particular we're looking for. It's a holiday themed. It's the hippie bus from Cars.
Cool.
And we're actually going to be taking our 83 VW van again. It's a diesel engine. We're taking that down to Disney. So it's kind of a dream of ours to take it on road trips. So it's healthy enough we can take it on the road trip. So that's where we're going. Looking forward to that.
Nice.
Should be a good old time. I love this time of year. It is just full of joy, and there are so many memories like of childhood and so directly linked to Nintendo. Like, just Nintendo is synonymous with Christmas in a lot of ways, and so like I can't think of a year that I haven't gotten something Nintendo. Like, it's always on my Christmas list. It's always heading it. But as a little kid, that wasn't always the case up until a certain age, but yet my strongest memories are of those first Nintendo games that I got. And so I just wanted to talk about like Christmas memories in general that we have for Nintendo and the love that we have. It doesn't necessarily have to be strictly Nintendo, but just our like richest memories. And we want to share that with our listeners. It's just something that we're really nostalgic about. So the topic today is Christmas memories. Okay, Josh. So you got a couple memories. I brought a couple memories. So why don't you kick us off and give us kind of a picture of what this awesome Christmas morning was for you, or maybe evening. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I've got a few here. I'm going to start with the earliest because it's one of the first ones I can remember. Oh, crud. I'm trying to think even how to start with this one. So usually when we would get up, we would just walk into the room, and whenever my mom determined it was time, because we had one of those old video cameras that looks like a big box nowadays. It had the little mini VHS thing in it. I can't even think of the term for it. I'm kind of old, but not quite quite there.
Camcorder or?
Yeah, it was a little cassette tape almost. It was a little bigger than that, but it would go in the converter type thing, so you could put it in the VCR. But for the time, I guess it was good. But so that they would have all that set up, and we'd go in there, and half the stuff would be open already. But anyway, one of the earliest ones, at least I can remember, I believe was 96. So we go in there, and you probably already know what's coming, but I open up the N64 and with Super Mario 64. I think that was the only game I had at first, but unless Mario Kart might have been out by then, I can't remember. But anyway, that was pretty awesome because I'd already fell in love with Nintendo as a whole, with the Super Nintendo. So we hooked that thing up and got to try out Mario 64, and that's still one of those games that I don't know if anything's quite compared like to that awe factor. You know, when you first see a 3D game and you first get to run around in this big open world type thing. So that's one of those things that's just hard to describe unless you were really there. Like, I don't think, gosh, I sound old saying this. I don't think kids these days can quite understand that. There's different things now. Maybe I can't even think of something really to compare it to. But that was pretty awesome. I guess that one really took the spotlight for that Christmas in particular. But yeah, that was my first memory that I could come up with that.
So I was kind of digging through my memories and trying to think, like, I'm bad about timelines and things. So my first memory is getting my Game Boy Pocket. It came with Donkey Kong Land 2, and I think that's pretty much the only game I had at first. Like, that's all I'd play. I think maybe I got Super Star Wars. I want to say, or not Super Star Wars, whatever the Star Wars game was at the time. And I had that Super Star Wars for Super Nintendo, and playing a Star Wars game on a Game Boy was totally different, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I felt like that game was a little bit lower quality, maybe. I remember getting frustrated with that. But man, Donkey Kong Land 2 was my jam. Like, literally, like, I had a Discman, and I'd pop out the headphones from my Discman and plug it into my Game Boy and just rock out to the soundtrack of Donkey Kong Land 2. That's all I did that Christmas. Like, I'm sure I went through like copious amounts of batteries that day. It was awesome. I had my Game Boy Pocket was a black one. And so like really, really slick to have that black with like the yellow cartridge sticking out of the back. Oh yeah, I love that system so much.
That was actually the first Game Boy I had. Not to take over your thing. I got it during a birthday, I believe, actually. But mine was green. It was like right before the color came out. The Pocket wasn't. I think it was only kind of a thing for like a year or so, wasn't it? It wasn't long before the color came out. So it was kind of a special thing to have, I feel like.
They had the main string of colors, like black included, and then about maybe half a year later, maybe a year later after that Christmas, there was those advertisements and magazines for the ice blue one. Like, there was like a Game Boy in someone's back pocket, and it looked like it was frozen, and it had that kind of really cool ice blue, like almost metallic look to it. And one of my friends had that one, and I was so jealous of that one. He had that, and he had like Mortal Kombat on it. So like, you know, it was a cool system to have. And I was like, I got this black one, it's okay, but I really want the blue one. But you know, my parents were like, but you already have one, you don't need to get another color.
I feel like you had something awesome for like the holidays, for Christmas time, because knowing me, I would have had that like in all the family members' houses we would have went to. 64, not so much, but
yeah, I took that thing everywhere with me. You know, I remember I have memories of taking that to me with the dog show. Like, my parents own a kennel, and they went to like some kind of dog show right after Christmas, and I was just trying to. I learned that I can't play very well. I can't play games and walk at the same time very, very well. I'm not very coordinated when it comes to that. So
it's difficult.
I'd try playing and as I walk, and then I'd stop and start playing, and then people would bump into me. My mom would be like, come on, let's go, And I'd stop playing for a second, start walking again, but I'd stare at my screen like, I want to play. I couldn't tear myself away from it.
Yeah, especially if you were playing something like Donkey Kong Land 2 or, a side scroller or something. There's no way I could walk and play that.
Yeah, it's a challenge for me. I can't read a book and walk very well either, so coordination issues. It takes some mental power to do that. So yeah, just diving in at Christmas time, I felt like the coolest kid having portable Nintendo, because NES, Super Nintendo, all that stuff was stuff that I knew. But the idea of just taking it everywhere was just mind-blowing to me. And I didn't care if I couldn't see the screen very well. You hear the stories of people going from street light to street light as your parents are driving down the road, just trying to catch that little bit of light to keep playing.
Oh, yeah. I've done it.
The days. I think I didn't get a worm light type thing until Game Boy Color days. So yeah. Struggle's real.
I'm going off topic a little bit there, but yeah, I had this I think it was actually the Game Boy Color era, I guess. But yeah, I don't remember what it was called. Somebody mentioned it not long ago, but it was this big screen, it made the screen magnified, and it had speakers sticking out of it that opened up, and it had a light in it that was pretty cool. And I had a worm light too.
I did have something like that. It was pink, and it lit up. It was a magnifying glass lit up. It was Pelican, I believe. Pelican brand that fit on the front of the system. I don't think I had the speaker thing going on with it, but yeah, I distinctly remember that.
My goodness, Pelican brand. Here I am going off topic again, and I'm so sorry.
No, nostalgia is all that this show's all about.
All I can think of is sort of a negative thing, actually, and this is skipping ahead a little bit in my next memory, but Pelican GameCube controllers were the worst. Me and a cousin I've got, and I think even a friend of mine, had all gotten Pelican controllers at different times, and they all had different issues. The A button would stick in and things like that. Ever since then, I do not buy anything that is not first-party Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, just to continue that off topic, I had this GameCube controller. It was greenish colored, but I had rubberized grips on the side, kind of fin grips, and it was really small and compact, and my hands just loved that, especially for Smash Brothers and stuff. I wish I still had that controller because it was a really good little controller. But yeah, I remember Pelican getting less and less reputable towards the end there. I think they had some N64 stuff that was kind of cool. But even then, it just wasn't the same. They were kind of cheap anyway in a lot of ways. But they had cool ideas to back them, even though they used the cheaper materials and things. I'm fond of Pelican in a lot of ways. So.
I mean, the other one was Mad Catz that I can think of. I remember having 64 steering wheel. I actually got it for Christmas. I don't think it was that same year.
I think
I remember playing Mario Kart 64 with it, which was kind of dumb looking back. It was kind of fun all at the same time. It was hard, but it was still fun. It was a good time.
I think that microcontroller might have been a Mad Catz or something like that. So
yeah,
either Nyko or something like that. But yeah. So what's your next memory that you have of that?
Okay, so it's similar to that. Really, I've got 3 different things, and they're all similar, I'd say. This one is the GameCube release. So it was Christmas 2001. Right. So that was when I could really my love for all of that only grew. And I remember looking at magazines and such before the GameCube came out. So that was the first time I was really getting excited. I was old enough to kind of understand it. I think I was in middle school, but yeah, the build up for that was really cool. I remember I got the Indigo one, with 4 different games, like just spread out through different. I could even tell you which family member got which one still. But I got Luigi's Mansion. It's from my mom. I got Smash Brothers Melee from my dad's side. Played the heck out of both of those. Let's see. I got Star Wars Rogue Leader from one set of grandparents, and that game is probably still one of my favorite Star Wars video games. I really need to pull it out again. I wish they still made those Rogue Squadron games. But and the other one I got was from my other set of grandparents was Crazy Taxi.
Oh, nice.
So I had a good solid 4 there to play around on that all were very different from each other. But I had a great time with that. Another, my stepbrother at the time got a ton of games too, and some of them were different. So yeah, we played the heck out of that. That was a pretty big Christmas.
I remember me and my cousins got our GameCubes around the same time, and we all got different games. So it was cool to like experience like the full like I guess launch lineup. Go over to each other's houses and play the different ones. Remember Star Wars was pretty cool, like just flying around. I was awful at space combat and things like that, but it was still cool to be flying around with this snow levels and everything. Get to experience that. Good memories. I think this was exactly a year later. So I had my Game Boy Pocket, and I was kind of bored of the games that I had. And I got a couple of games that Christmas. I got a couple accessories too. We were planning, oddly enough, around Christmas time. We were planning a trip to go to Disney. It was my first Disney trip that I would remember anyway. I was a lot younger the time before that. But yeah, we were going to Disney. So like my parents went in to get me all these things to do for the trip. And, aside from my, I think they were Cracker Barrel, like coloring books, but they were like the marker, like the hidden marker thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like the invisible ink and stuff like that. Like I do those things, but they wanted to give me all these different things for the car to go on this trip. And one of the things they got me was this, it was like a compilation game of like old arcade games. So it had Joust on it. And so I played a lot of Joust. And so like, Killer Queen Black kind of scratches that itch, that nostalgia, because I played on the Game Boy with Joust. And then also I got Pokemon Red version. And I was completely obsessed with Pokemon on that point on. Like I was already kind of like just this hyperactive kid. Like any mention of Pikachu and I'd like scream Pikachu and like bounce up and down. And like, yeah, I remember going on this Disney trip and I had a Pikachu shirt and a Pikachu hat, and I was like covered in freckles. Like it was embarrassing the amount of freckles that were all over me. But yeah, like, and they got me this fanny pack, and it was I think it was Interact or something like that, Game Boy fanny pack, that I would keep my Game Boy in to go on this Disney trip, and I had like a front little zipper pouch that has a bunch of different batteries to plug in, or to have to. You gotta have your battery. There's so many that you go through. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, it had the pouch for the games, and so I was all ready. I mean, I had Pokemon. I had this Joust game, but also I got this rectangular book, and this little device that you plug in the back that you plug your cartridge into, and it was a Game Shark. So I had this Game Shark, and I would plug in Joust, and you could and I had this little code book. It was this thick rectangular code book just full of different game codes, and Joust was in there, and so I was able to go in and like mess with the different settings, like Infinite Lives or something like that. Just have a lot of fun with that. I distinctly remember on the back of the book, it showed like this kid, but he had like full rows of like shark teeth on the back. It was like kind of creepy, but I thought it was like really cool. Game Shark was the coolest thing at the time.
Did you happen to have that N64 Game Shark?
No, one of my friends growing up did have one. But yeah, that was pretty cool too.
My cousin and I both had one, and we used to use that thing on everything. We could go on, I think it was cheatcc.com at the time. like
Hmm.
Shark, like you could add like a string of code into it, like for different games that
Hmm.
didn't even work with it. It was kind of complicated looking back, but we had a blast with that. Like you could go to Ocarina of Time and Moon Jump, and we would just spend hours just doing stupid stuff like that. It was great.
Game Sharks were fun for sure. You know, I was so hyper obsessed with Pokemon. Like, I think my first introduction to Pokemon was probably the Pokemon trading card game, but I didn't really get heavy into the trading card game until probably Gold and Silver stuff started coming out. Um, but I do have some memories. Like it was Christmas time, and I went to like a Pokemon League, and got a badge or something. You know, did my Pokemon card thing there. But um, I would try. I think I did my first couple of Pokemon trades at school, um, and then I also trade Pokemon cards. You know, you don't know what you're doing then, so you trade like stupid things for pointless cards. But it was like trade this shiny for like all these like commons, like this stack of commons. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting so many cards, it's a good deal. Not really, but you don't understand rarities at that time. But such fond memories of that Christmas, and I was just such a hyperactive kid. Like Pikachu, everything, Pokemon, everything. I just bounce about everywhere with that.
See, I feel like I was a little immature kid. Not that I'm mature now that I'm 30, but like I didn't get into Pokemon. Like I'm still not like the biggest fan, but I like it until like I don't know 2000. This decade. It was earlier this decade, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I was a little butthead back then, and I always got Nintendo Power, and I loved Zelda after Ocarina of Time. And so that was about the time Pokemon Red and Blue came out, and it exploded, and all my friends were talking about it. And I got mad because I remember one month in Nintendo Power, one of the Pokemon games, I can't even remember which one. It might have been Red or Blue because it might have been the Game Boy games, overtook a Zelda game in like the rankings or whatever they had.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I got mad and I hated it for like a couple years. And I got sick of it because everybody loved it and that's all everybody talked about. So I just got bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Longest time. So I was not that kid. I probably could have been, but I shut.
Yeah, it was that Game Shark served me really well. Um, I didn't do it till much later, but it's what saved my red version. I mean, saved. I mean, made me able to play it again.
Yeah.
Not that I got to keep my save file, but I caught Missing No, and I was pretty bummed about it. And I've told my story about getting my blue version. Like it was kind of like a miracle thing to get that, but my Game Shark allowed me to reset my red version after the fact, much later. It had that feature, and I was able to reset the game so I could start playing again on the red version. So that was pretty cool to start over again from scratch. But yeah, that little Game Shark served me well. It was always interesting to see what I could do with manipulating stuff, but I never really wanted to use it on Pokemon.
Yeah.
I want to say that there may have been a thing I did to get Mew or something, but that was the only thing that I did because I knew that it was a Pokemon that you couldn't get otherwise. And so, like, I did it for that, but I wouldn't use it to cheat for anything else.
Right.
So,
I don't feel like they have cheat codes like that anymore, hardly. You don't see it enough.
no, they have, like, Action Replay and whatever else. There's, like, another brand that's going on right now, but I don't know. It's fun to do that for, like, single-player stuff, but when you're doing it for competitive online play, it's not worth it.
No.
It kind of takes the fun out of it. If it's not really skill, it's just, messing with the code to get an advantage. But I know modding is a big thing in a lot of PC circles and stuff. So there's Minecraft mods for days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the spiritual successor, to this little device that lets you hack into the code of the game and do silly things. All right. So you've got one more memory for us?
Okay, so to kind of keep the theme going, from my other two, it's more around the Wii launch. So I was already in high school by that point, but actually, I didn't have to. Well, I did. I'll get there. The day it came out, I guess it was. I don't know. It was probably mid-November. I can't remember exactly what. No, it was actually later than that. Come to think of it, they had already done their initial shipment that year, and if you remember, it sold pretty well, like right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And I already knew my parents, whoever was going to get it for me, wasn't able to grab a hold of it. So we found out they were getting another shipment. I think it was early December. Heck, it could have been, this same day. I don't know. But we went up to Walmart the night before, and I don't think I've ever done anything like that before then or after then. But we got there probably at like 9, or I don't know, it's probably before that, even at night, and stayed the night in the lawn and gardening department until like 6 a.m. the next day to be able to get in line and get one. And I actually remember it like I wish I didn't have a cell phone. When was that? That was what, like 2006. I think I did have a cell phone, but it just was. It isn't quite what it is now. Like I kind of wish I would have kept up with some of the people there, because I remember like getting in some fun conversations there. I was like starting to make friends, and then we all got our systems and just kind of left. I was like, I always I think every once in a while, like, what happened to them?
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty fun group of people, but yeah, we got like lawn chairs out in their department back there, and it was just like some of us, we doze off for a little bit or whatever. It was a pretty good time. So that was actually the biggest part of that memory, I guess. But then, of course, getting home with it, and since I put the effort into it, they did say, even though I wasn't the one that put the money into it, they're like, all right, you can go ahead and, like, I got to play Zelda for a little bit and sports, and then we put it up until Christmas. But yeah, that was a good time.
Good days. The holidays are big times. Like I didn't put on like too much like Nintendo stuff. Put Luigi's Mansion 3 on there and Pokemon games. Seems like always anymore. Like I'm putting Pokemon games on there. It's just something that I would get it like for Christmas starting out, and like then for a while there I had to get it launch day.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I'm okay waiting to Christmas, because that's kind of like the nostalgia thing for me. It's just getting it on Christmas, and it's something special. And I know usually Christmas Day I'll fire up a version on mine and a version of my wife's, and play through to the point where we get the starters, get to the point where we can trade, and I'll trade a starter over to another one, and start over that game again, and until we all have 3 starters starting out. It would be cool to have that memory again, though I hear that it's a little harder to do nowadays. It's like 20 minutes into the story before you actually get your starters or can trade or something like that. So it'd be interesting trying to figure all that out and do the transfer. We may just end up breeding later and going from there, but I don't know. We'll see what we do.
Oh yeah, I think my wife and I are both getting that game for Christmas. I think I'm getting Shield and she's getting Sword.
Oh, does she play Pokemon? I didn't know that.
She doesn't play a whole lot of different games, but she did get Moon, and
okay.
I think she beat it even. Like the story, not the whole Pokedex or anything like that. I didn't even do that, but yeah, she played around on that a little bit.
Awesome. So, looking forward to future memories. There's just, it's harder and harder as you get older to capture those memories of yourself as a child, but it's something so much more magical to have a child of your own and watch them start building those memories. You're getting nostalgia just watching like them make memories too. And I don't know what you have under your tree this year or anything like that, but what are some nostalgic memories that you have just for your daughter? Maybe open up something that she was really excited about, or just something that really just kind of made her day, or anything like that. Do you have any like big memories of that? I don't have any kids, so I can't really like reflect on that, but I just was kind of want to pick your brain about that.
That's a little bit tough because I feel like I'm still very much in the middle of that, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even just this evening, like we were a little behind on putting up some decorations, so we just now kind of finished up part of the tree. But just she was actually able to help a little this year, things like that. So I mean, that's a good time in itself. It actually went smoother than I thought it was going to, so that was nice. We do the little. She's got one of those elves on it. I feel I'm saying it weird and I'm making a plural word. Elves on a shelves. You know what I'm talking about. But today, our Laylee plushie from the Yukon Laylee plushie is holding the elf on the top of the tree, like upside down. I know there's no video on here, so I won't bother showing you, but just she got a good kick out of that. But yeah,
Aw.
it's a good time. A lot of it, I guess even kind of brings you back to when you're that age. So it's kind of another way of remembering all of that and living that out a little bit.
Yeah, just it's so cool. Like it's one thing. Like someday I'll have kids. If nothing else, we're gonna adopt and get to experience those
Oh, yeah.
nostalgic memories with my kids. That'll be a really really awesome time. Something to look forward to for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope everybody who's listening is still making those nostalgia memories with Nintendo. And get a little something Nintendo. Whether it's just picking up like some kind of ornament or something for your tree that's Nintendo, or being able to give the gifts of Nintendo to people. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be little. It can just be something from the heart. Even like a little Nintendo card. It's such a good time of year to give and to share the joy, and especially with Nintendo. That brings us to the tail end of the show. We've got one more segment. We got a couple of voicemails that I wanted to bring up before we closed out here. A couple of questions, a couple of thanks for the show. So I'll go ahead and get those started here before we do our due diligence.
Hey guys, this is Isaac. I want to say thanks again for taking my call. Thanks for listening to all the calls I have coming in, but wanted to bring up some interesting news that came out. Give you a backstory of a quick story here. I have a arcade place where they have a flat rate. It's by the hour. You also have like an all-day thing you can get where there's a bunch of old arcade cabinets. You can play all kinds. There's some classics in there. But what's really interesting about this arcade is they have about 30 TVs and practically any kind of game system you can think of, even like Atari, TurboGrafx, and of course every single Nintendo system. Well, I was in there yesterday with my cousin. They were actually celebrating their 3rd anniversary, and they were giving out door prizes. And I happened to win a 30-day for free pass. So I could go in anytime. I could play practically any game made by Nintendo that they have available. So I thought I'd call in and ask you guys. I actually don't have a Switch yet. I'm still looking to get one. But my question would be, if you had 30 days that you could play practically any kind of game from any system, what would you recommend? I figured my free time, just go play probably on the Switch. I want to save Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey kind of for more when I have my own Switch, more the comfort of my own home kind of thing. But if there's any game that you can think of, maybe it's a shorter game you could beat, let me know. Just thought I'd get you guys' thoughts. Again, I appreciate you guys taking the call. I think you guys are doing awesome. Really enjoy listening to you guys. And as always, keep up the good work. All right, guys. Thanks again. Take care.
All right. So what games would we play if we had a 30-day, unlimited play on Nintendo systems?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. I guess it depends on the system.
That's a lot of gaming. I mean, it could be any system, it's very uncommon to have Virtual Boy, but like I'd put Virtual Boy up there as one of my number one. Like, there's so many good experiences on that.
Oh yeah, because I only remember playing that like once in my life. I think at a KB Toys, I played Mario Tennis for a little bit. So if the option is like to play stuff that I haven't already played through a bunch or that I don't already love, yeah, that would probably be on my list too. Just to actually say I've got to try it out. So I know it's not, apparently it's not great, but just to have that experience and said I was able to try it out, that'd be cool. Actually, come to think of it, that put me in mind. I missed my Super Scope. I think for years, but I miss playing Yoshi's Safari. I don't know why I thought of that just now, but there we go.
I think there's some NES games I'd like to revisit and play again. There's the Hook game. I wouldn't mind playing Yonoi off, like away from an emulator, like actually play the actual version. And then I'd like to just go back and play some of the big ones that I really enjoyed. There was it was kind of an awful game, I guess. It was like Iron Sword or something like that. It's got a picture of a big muscular guy on the front, Fabio or something. And Low G Man was a big one for me, and Street Fighter 2010. All games that I enjoyed growing up, and so I'd love to actually play that. And Fester's Quest. I actually own the game, but I've never actually had a working system since I got the game, and I'd love to play that. If I ever got the chance, I definitely want to play the Little Nemo game and all of its glory on NES. I think I have that on my hacked NES Classic, so it's a really fun game. I'd like to just play that, and it's I pretty much stick to NES games that I'm nostalgic for, that I don't remember too much. Even playing like one of my early games that I had for NES was Tetris, and then I have like a Where's Waldo game for NES, and then for some reason like I'd want to revisit like even like the childhood games that I had, like little kid stuff like Sesame Street ABC and Sesame Street 1, 2, 3 and things like that, just to see what it was like, hit that memory, nostalgia.
It is funny to go back to stuff like that sometimes, even though it's one of there's a lot of media that's aimed at everyone, that's kid friendly, that's everyone, and that's the sort of thing that's not really. It's just for little kids. But it is kind of funny to go back and look at that sort of thing. It almost like it triggers something, you remember seeing this particular part. But yeah, I would probably focus on stuff that's shorter. Actually, like I'd want to say some bigger games that I missed out on, but then I can't get in as much. So I'd probably want to do like the quicker things. Honestly, thinking back, I feel like I've played a lot of just, whatever I'd want to play. I feel like I have at some point already. I'm not left wanting a whole lot, I guess. But yeah, I'd probably just see how much I can squeeze in there. Probably wouldn't sit on one thing too long.
Kind of popped into my head. This is kind of a, hey listeners, help me find this game. There's this game that I played. The only thing I can remember, it was kind of a platformer. It kind of was similar to like a Kid Icarus type game where you're climbing higher and higher. But I'm pretty sure it was like an early Hudson Soft game or Sunsoft or something. But it actually had like the bee, the mascot for Hudson Soft, in it. But it only ever appeared one playthrough that I did. And I grabbed it and it gave me some points. But I never saw it again in that game. And I couldn't tell you what the game was. But I thought it was kind of cool that I collected this mascot, bee. And I can't find it on internet searches. I have no idea. Like, nobody knows what this game is. So if you know what this game is, let me know.
He just showed up for you.
I never figured it out or knew why the heck there was a Hudson Soft bee like collectible that you could grab that gave you points. But yeah, it was kind of cool. I don't know what the game was. Like I said, it kind of reminded me of Kid Icarus, but I hadn't played Kid Icarus, then, so it was something different. But yeah, let me know if you can figure out what that is. All right, I'll get into our second voicemail here. It's good friend who's been playing a lot of our game nights, friend of Josh's. So let's get this played.
Hey, Nintendo Nostalgia. Zach Adams here. I'm Josh's good buddy. Real quick, I just want to say thank you all for giving him the opportunity to take part in everything, and I'm very glad and happy for him for that and for all the opportunities he's had this year. I think that's really awesome. Very happy for him. Just real quick, wanted to say a few things about myself. I'm a huge gamer, maybe not as big as some of you all, but I love video games, and Nintendo is my number one through and through, no matter what else I like. I always come back to Nintendo, with The Legend of Zelda being my absolute favorite Nintendo series and game series, period, point blank. Can't beat it in my eyes. It's better than everything else, but that's just me. I think you guys are talking about Christmas memories on this episode. So one of the Christmas memories that stands out to me is there was one Christmas when Toy Story came out, and I remember getting this like Buzz Lightyear ship that had buttons on it, kind of like how Buzz has buttons on his costume, and you could press these buttons and it make noises and say lines from like the movies or whatever. And I remember watching a home video my aunt made of that Christmas, and it showed me opening that, and I got so excited. It was awesome. Very, very nostalgic for that. Speaking of nostalgia in games, one of the earliest things I remember being able to do is blow into the NES cartridges to get them to work. Now, whether it was a placebo or not, I'm telling you, they worked. And also, being able to play the original Super Mario Brothers on NES before I ever started school. Good stuff. Pretty excited for a lot of things coming down the pipeline, such as Breath of the Wild 2 and the rest of the possible DLC characters for Smash Ultimate. Very excited for all that. Yeah, that's about all I've got left to say. Can't wait to keep listening to the podcast. I wish it well.
Cool, man. Awesome. Thank you for calling in, both Isaac and Zach. Thank you. We like hearing your questions and your memories and stuff. It's really cool. Man, Zelda. Big fan of Zelda, huh? And then Super Mario Brothers, can't go wrong there. I've got so many memories of my grandparents playing Super Mario Brothers. It's just it's so good. Like, you mentioned some NES games, so that really made me kind of fit in with my like what games you'd play in the 30 days, a lot of NES stuff. Like, that's kind of my thing right now, is I want to go back and experience some of those games that I haven't had really accessibility to. So, and like, I wish I had like a bunch of Christmas memories getting Christmas games. I think my Tetris game was probably a Christmas game. I think I remember playing that at my grandparents on Christmas. And that song that played, it wasn't even the classic Tetris song. It was something else. Some Russian song. What was it? I don't know. I am sure it's in, Tetris 99.
Okay.
There's a Tetris song, but then there was another one that you could play, like an alternate mode or something that played a different song. It was a classical piece. And that's what I always think of, because like I associate Tetris with Christmas because of that song for some reason, even though it may not be a Christmas song even. But it's kind of my memories there. But thank you, yes, both Isaac and Zach. Really hearing, and definitely like Zach, thank you so much for joining us on our Smash Brothers game nights. We go toe to toe, and we each win a match here or there, and it's a lot of fun until Josh steps in and then creams us all,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's that Banjo-Kazooie stage. It's not the character he plays; it's the stage that he picks every time. It throws me off.
Now, I did not pick that, actually. Yeah, the other night, so I had my stage on random, and it picked Spiral Mountain like 2 or 3 times, and I did not. I was completely innocent on that. Like, I would pick it, but I did not pick it.
Something tells me Jacob was there in spirit.
Yeah. Somebody was using the Jacob spirit.
But yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to play the new Smash character, but Terry. But I did get to play his stage, and that's a lot of fun.
I have played as him a little bit. He's fun. He's kind of like the Street Fighter characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely different, but he still kind of feels like him, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, like he was saying, to comment on a couple things he said in his call, whoever that was, I have no clue who that guy was. I'm kidding. But what's funny is like with Nintendo, the NES isn't really my most nostalgic thing, like the SNES and the 64 is. But my dad actually had an NES, but he sold it to get the Super Nintendo. So I didn't really play a whole lot of those games until later on. Like some of my earliest memories of that would be Animal Crossing on the GameCube, to be honest, where you could get like 20 different NES games in that. If you remember that, you could put them in your house and play them. And some, like one of them was even Donkey Kong Jr. Math, which I thought was hilarious that it even existed. But yeah, anyway, and along with that, he had mentioned like some upcoming things, Smash DLC, of course. That's something I can't help but try to keep up with. Like everybody talks about what they speculate and all that, and I'm like, oh no, just you're talking about it too much. But then there I am, watching the nonsense go on. But yeah, I hope what comes next and after that is cool. Something that would make a lot of people happy. I don't want to be selfish. I already got my most wanted. So with Banjo, I don't really care a whole lot about the others that have come out so far, but it's not like they're terrible. Yeah, it's fun. So yeah, I guess if it was my way to be somewhat realistic, it would be like Crash or Spyro or something like that. But
let's be real, you want Rayman.
Oh yeah, and Rayman, that was another one. Yeah, just to toss a couple out there. Not to get too off topic there, but it's mostly got honestly, it's got mostly my nostalgia in there anyway. So I really can't complain.
Yeah, Nintendo's creating memories. I mean, just keep on going, Nintendo. Thank you so much for all the memories you give us, and especially the Christmas memories. You create magic, and we love sharing that with everybody and talking about it. So thank you, Nintendo. That brings us to the end of the episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on our home site at thenintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube if you want to listen to the show. You can find us on Facebook at Nintendo NOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. You can find us on Instagram, Nintendo NOSIN. And you can shoot us an email at NintendoNostalgiaIN@gmail.com. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week for a Star Wars theme. Later, Preston.
Bye-bye.